We spend a lot of time in davening thinking about Ben Adam Lamako. Tefillah is an enterprise that relates us to the Ribono Shel Olam, to God. What I want to do tonight is to put on our agenda not only Ben Adam Lamako, not only issues that need to be worked through in terms of our relationship with God, but in particular to focus on Ben Adam Lachavero, on our relationships with one another. And it is in that context that I first want to begin by thanking the Astro family, Lu'ili Nishmas Aviva Bas Baruch Alea Shalom, for sponsoring tonight's program. Are they here? Is the family here? Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody not have a copy of the handout? There are two handouts. There's a handout with a clip, and then there's a single double-side page. Anybody missing? Anybody else missing? Mishnah ends Maseches Yuma as follows. Avera sheben Adam lamako. The arrow at the bottom of the first page. There's a lot of Hebrew here. I will translate, I think, everything. I'll certainly try to translate everything to make sure that everybody is comfortable and we're all on the same page, literally on the same page. When it comes to issues that we have to rectify in our relationship with God, Yom Kippur takes care of that. Yom Kippur, we do a Yom Kippur properly. We're coming up in a couple of days. We take it seriously. We do tshuva, we daven. We recognize where we are vis-a-vis God, where God is vis-a-vis us. We do the work that we have to do, Yom Kippur and Mechaper. However, if there are infractions that relate one to another, you could daven up a whole Yom Kippur, 25 hours. You could bang Al-Khair 100 times. You could fast. You could daven. You could spend 16 hours in shul. Ein Yom Kippur mechaper. It doesn't matter at all until you go ahead and you do the hard work of confronting your friend, confronting your former friend, and asking for mechila, saying that you're sorry. You have to ask for mechila. You have to be meratze your friend. Yom Kippur is meaningless. For ben adam lachavero, says the Mishnah, ad sheyiratze es chavero. Come in. Come. There are seats over here. Do we have some sheets? It says reserved, but it's reserved for you. I'm not going to call him. Okay. Darash Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Mikol chatosechem lifnei Hashem titaru. The pasuk says, and it's a pasuk that we're going to repeat over and over again on Yom Kippur, Ki bayom ezeh yechaper aleichem letaher eschem mikol chatosechem lifnei Hashem titaru, which he interprets to mean Mikol chatosechem lifnei Hashem. If it has to do with a sin relating to God, then titaru, then Yom Kippur plays a role. But if it's a chatosechem ben adam lachavero, then you need to confront your friend. You cannot just simply depend on what we call itzumo shel yom, on the day of Yom Kippur itself. And then continues, avera sheben adam lamakom yom kippur mechaper, avera sheben adam lachavero, en yom kippur mechaper at sheyiratze es chavero. That is the part of the Mishnah that I want to focus on. The Mishnah, in summary, differentiates between two different kinds of sins. God sins, issues that relate to the Ribono Shel Olam, Yom Kippur is mechaper. Issues that relate to one another, in a way it's harder. We figure it out with God. Now, God knows us. We have a relationship with God. God knows that we're human. We try our best. We make deals. We'll figure it out. Mit der Ribono Shel Olam kann man sich geben an Eitzah. We'll make good. We're going to work on it. We're going to be serious. But with our friend, it's embarrassing. We have to go and say, I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry, and I ask you to forgive me. And Yom Kippur is not going to work. And Yom Kippur mechaper chiyiratzas chavero. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah brings a pasuk, Chatosechem lifnei Hashem titaru, and then he repeats the same Maimer Chazal all over again. Aver sheben adam lamakom Yom Kippur mechaper, aver sheben adam lachavero, and Yom Kippur mechaper ad chiyiratzas chavero. I want to introduce you this evening to a lesser known star in the firmament of Torah scholarship, and that is a second riff. So there is a riff that we know and love and adore and spend a lot of time studying. Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, the riff. He's in the 11th century, lived first in Tunisia, learned with Rabbeinu Hananel and Kairouan, ended up in Morocco, Fez, Al-Fasi, Fez. At the end of his life, he went to Spain. In the back of the Gemara, a code of sorts, summarizing the laws of the Gemara. He leaves out all of the Agadata. And then there's another riff. The other riff is on page 2. The other riff is a commentary on the Ein Yaakov. If the riff is only halacha, not agada, the Ein Yaakov, 16th century, is a collection of the what we call the homiletic or the agadic selections from the Gemara, puts it together in a sefer, presents it to you in order. There's a perush on the Ein Yaakov, the bottom right-hand side of page 2, known as the riff. The riff is Rashi Tevos for Rabbi Yoshia Pinto. Rabbi Yoshia Pinto. Rabbi Yoshia Pinto was a big makubal. He's a big Kabbalist. He lived in Damascus. He died in 1648. So we're now 500 years after the other riff. We're now at the second riff. Rabbi Yoshia Pinto dies in the middle of the 17th century, has a commentary on the Ein Yaakov. He asks 5 questions on these few lines in the Mishnah. I only want to ask his first question. And the first question that Rabbi Yoshia Pinto asks is, what is Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah coming to do here? Let's take a look inside. Let's read it a little bit. V'kashya lan. First line, bottom right, page 2. V'kashya lan. We have a question. I'll translate. Ma hosif od Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah lidrush yoser meha'omur kodem. What does he add to the statement that preceded his? We call it the Tanakama, the first opinion in the Mishnah. Once again, Avera sheben adam lamakom Yom Kippurim mechaper. Avera sheben adam lachavero and Yom Kippurim mechaper ad shiratzes chavero. Now comes along Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. What does he do? What is his role? What is he trying to accomplish vis-a-vis the first statement? What is he adding to the first statement? So you'll say, he's coming to ground that statement in a biblical text. Pasuk says, Ki beyom ezeh yechaper aleichem, l'tayar eschem mikol chatosechem lifnei Hashem titaru. If that's what he is coming to add, this is nisht azoi stam azoi gezok. It's not just a simple statement, but it's actually rooted in the Chumash. Imkein lo haya lo lachzor velomar aver shebenob lamakot says you have to repeat the whole thing again. Ella, what should the Mishnah have said? The Mishnah begins, if it has to do with God, Yom Kippur takes care of it. If it has to do with one another, we have to take care of it. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah minayin. How do you know? What's it based on? Shenemar mikol chatosechem lifnei Hashem titaru. and finished. Why does he have to repeat as he does? Nachamal ibigachazert. The same exact lashon, the same exact language that preceded his. Aver shebenadam lamakam Yom Kippur mechaper, aver shebenadam lachaver, and Yom Kippur mechaper achi yiratzes chaver. So Rabbi Yoshia Pinto here establishes a very important and fundamental principle that I would like us to consider. I'm speaking to myself. You happen to listen to me speak to myself. This is an important principle for me and I think for all of us as we count down towards Yom Kippur, because it highlights the centrality of our obligation to make good for one another. Venir la niazdaiti, this is the second of the wider lines, just a little bit in, a couple of words in, after the dot. Zokt the Rif, the 17th century Rif. Sherbeloza ben Azariah Dorash HaMikra. He learns from this pasuk, God bless you, Umimeno Shana Lomar, and he draws, I'm going to say I don't want to use the word shocking, striking. He draws a striking conclusion, maybe shocking, from this pasuk. Umimeno Shana Lomar. Sheha'avero sheben adam lamakom Yom Kippur mechaper. You know what? If I didn't do Shabbos right, if somehow, I don't really know exactly, I wasn't concentrating, but I don't know how, somehow a cheeseburger fell right into my mouth. I don't know exactly, it can't be, but I don't know what happened. So that's an Avera sheben adam lamakom. So that Yom Kippur mechaper. Ubizman sheyesh lo gamkein. Avero sheben adam lachavero. However, if there is still outstanding something that has to be rectified between you and your friend, tluya kaparas avonosov sheben adam lamakom at shiratza lechavero al mashachata im chavero. Don't think, my whole life I thought, when I learned this Mishnah, there are two issues I need to focus on. I have to focus on my relationship with God. Okay, I worked on it. God, we're good. Wrap it up, put a bow on it, give me a check. In the big book in the sky, I'm done. Geharavit, I worked, I'm sincere. I did tshuva, Kabbalah, Charata, Busha, Aziva. I did everything. I'm good. Okay, done. Now I got another issue to worry about. I have to deal with my friend. I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm more than a shtickle embarrassed. So that isn't going to get rectified. So that piece is not done. This piece done. This piece is not done. Kommt again the Rif and says no. If you don't take care of Bein Adam lachavero, then you have not taken care of Bein Adam lamakom either. In other words, you're nowhere. You're nowhere. All the tshuva, the aziva, and the charata, and the kabbalah, and the fasting, and the ashamnus, and the al-chetz, and sitting in shul means nothing unless you had a conversation with your friend. Comes again Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and says, don't think that this is done and this is not done. Ben Adam lachavero is so central. Avero sheben Adam lachavero ein Yom Kippur mechaper on anything ad sheyiratzes chavero. That's a chiddush. That's amazing. From the simple pshat of the Tanna Kama, it's the way I always thought my whole life. This I took care of. This I didn't take care of. Comes again the Rif. 0, nothing. You wasted a Yom Kippur. You sat in shul 16 hours. You have an indentation in your chest from all the clopping. And it's a health garnished if you didn't go to Dvorah or to Chaim or to your sibling or to your parent or to your spouse and say, I'm really sorry, I messed up. I'm asking you for mechila. So gunisht vet the ganze Yom Kippur. That's the chiddush of Rabbi Yoshia Pinto. Let's wrap it up. V'kivin shehu meratza oso umifaisehu. Once you make nice to your friend, oz HaKadosh Baruch Hu misratza lo lechaper lo avonosov shachota beino lebein hamakom baruch hu. Our making good with God is contingent upon our making good with one another. What this does is catapults the koyach of ben adam lachavero in a way that otherwise we don't recognize how powerful it is. Everything is riding on ben adam lachavero. Ben adam lachavero is the key to unlock the entire Yom Kippur. The whole Yom Kippur, bracha levatala, unless we make nice to somebody who we hurt over the course of the year. So the question is, why? Why? What's wrong with what I thought for my whole life? Ma in Yeshmita Eitzel Sinai. I took care of the cheeseburger. It fell in. I didn't know. I wasn't concentrating. I can't believe it. It was a mistake. It wasn't. I'm sorry. It's crazy. Okay, so I took care of the cheeseburger. But if I don't take care of Devora or Chaim or anybody else, then the cheeseburger licked mich in kishke and doesn't go away, and that's it, and I'm nowhere on Yom Kippur. And the question is why? So on page 3, we have a Vaylayit by the name of Reb Chaim Falaji. Reb Chaim Falaji wrote 26 Sfarim. He actually wrote closer to 70 Sfarim. We have printed 26 Sfarim from Reb Chaim Falaji. We know that he wrote more than double that somehow we don't have yet. Maybe they're lost. Maybe somebody will find them. Chaim Falaji was a Chacham Bashi. Chacham Bashi is a Sephardic way of saying Rav HaRashi. He's a chief rabbi. He lived in Izmir. Izmir is in Turkey. And he was nifter. He died in 1869. Prolific writer, huge Talmud Chacham, very important communal leader. Reb Chaim Falaji quotes the Gemara, the Mishnah in Yuma, on the right side of page 3. Amrina biyuma avera sheben adam lamakom Yom Kippur mechaper. Avera sheben adam lachavera and Yom Kippur mechaper at shiratza es chaver. V'chos of harif v'agada tesham, quotes our rif, Rabbi Yoshia Pinto. The cholod she'eno meratza es chaver, as long as you don't make nice with your friend, gam ma shebeino lebein hamakom eno mechaper. Then even things that have nothing to do with another human being, that only have to do with God, they're not mechupar, they're not atoned for. There's no forgiveness. Yu'u yansha. V'yesh la says tam ledavar, because I think it requires an explanation. Why should it be that everything that ben adam lamakom also is tolui, depends upon ben adam lachaver? So I'm going to summarize what he says. He says basically that every ben adam lachavero is also a ben adam lamakom. That I have to be nice to you because I have to be nice to you, because I'm a human being, and human beings have to be nice to one another. But I also have to be nice to you because the Torah says that I should be nice to you. Big adol in the broadest, most general sense. What is the pasuk in the Torah that says that I should be nice to you? In general, pasuk says in Parshas Kedoshim, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. It's a beferish pasuk. Now, I don't know what reacha means. Love thy. It doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean neighbor. Somebody moves into your block. First Friday night, you walk over with a bottle of wine. Here's the wine. Welcome to the neighborhood. I love you. It's a beferish pasuk. It's a shtickle of mudna. It's a little bit odd. Doesn't mean neighbor. Doesn't mean friend. It's a huge machlokes rishonim, actually, what reyacha means. Let's assume it means another Jew. The Rambam in Hilchos Deos says, Kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. Chayav adam le'ahov kol echad ve'echad miYisrael kegufo shenemar v'yahavta l'reacha kamocha. So if I'm not being nice to you, what am I violating? I'm violating God's Torah. So it's as if you tell God, listen, God, with this part of the Torah, this I feel bad about that. With this part of the Torah, you know what? I'm gonna punt on that. I'm gonna skip that part. So the Rebbe says, what's going on here? The whole point of tshuva is A, to rectify our misdeeds, and B, to reestablish a relationship with God, to connect to God. There's a beautiful Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva where he describes in such poetic terms that chote is muvdol and mufrash is far away from God, is separated from God. But now, after you do tshuva, you become a karov and a nechmad and a yedid, become close to God. So, Mamanavshach, if you want to be close to God, you do what it says in God's Torah. You can't say, this part of God's Torah I'm going to do, this part of God's Torah I'm not going to do. You can't bifurcate God and human being. It's all one Torah. So Reb Chaim Falaji says, so it makes a lot of sense, that unless you fix this part of the Torah, then you fixed no part of the Torah, because it's an all or nothing deal. Torah is Torah. Relationship is a relationship. You want to have a relationship? You can't have a relationship. For this, we'll have a relationship. For that, ich bin Meichel. For that, I'm not so sure I want to have a relationship. You're in or you're not in. Every ben adam lachavero is a ben adam lamakom. Therefore, everything is ben adam lamakom. And if you don't do a ben adam lachavero, you've not done a piece of ben adam lamakom. If you haven't done a piece of ben adam lamakom, so ben adam lamakom isn't going to work. Reb Chaim Falaji, 19th century. There was a wonderful Jew, the left side of page 3, whose name was Reb Shaul. His family name was Lowenstein. He was the chief rabbi of Amsterdam in the second half of the 18th century. The Tate given a chief rabbi in Amsterdam. His father was Reb Aryeh Leib Lowenstein. The Zayde given a chief rabbi in Amsterdam. The Zayde was his maternal grandfather, whose name was Chacham Tzvi Ashkenazi. 4 years, 1710 to 1714, he was the chief rabbi in Amsterdam. The son of Rab Shaul Lowenstein was the chief rabbi in Amsterdam. The Einikel of Rab Shaul Lowenstein was the chief rabbi in Amsterdam. The great-grandson of Rab Shaul Lowenstein was the chief rabbi in Amsterdam. I don't know of any other case. 7 generations in the family, chief rabbis of the same city. When now Chief Rabbi number 3, Rab Shaul Halevi Lowenstein, writes a sefer called Binyan Ariel. And he quotes the Rif. On the right-hand side, the right column on the left side of page 3, V'kosfu kama gedolim v'gam harif be'en Yaakov, she'im lo tikein ha'odam averos shebeino lechavero, ein Yom Kippurim mechaper af al averos shebeino lamakom. Right? We saw the striking principle of the Rif. If you don't fix Devorah and Chaim, you don't fix God. You have to take care of Ben Adam Lachaver. V'nirali tam nochon lozeh ava'er lekaman. I think I have a good reason, and I'll explain it later on. In order to understand what Rabbi Shaul of Amsterdam suggests as a rationale for the Chiddush, this interesting notion of Rabbi Yoshia Pinto, I invite you to turn to the single sheets now. And I want to spend a moment on the book of Yonah. So, we're going to read the book of Yonah. Can I get it for you? You want me to put it over here? Fine. It's beautiful. Shalom Aleichem. We read the book of Yonah on the night of the afternoon of Yom Kippur. Mafter Yonah Minchan Yom Kippur. So we're familiar with the story. I know it's been almost a year since we read it last year, but we're coming up to it, so just a quick reminder. Shem comes to Yonah and says, go to Nineveh and tell them to do tshuva. And what does Yonah do? He's out of here. He runs away. He runs away. Gets stuck in the big fish. And the rest is history. Question. Why does Yonah run away? Why does Yonah run away? Yonah is a prophet. Yonah Hanavi. He's in the Treyaser. He's in the prophet book. Isn't that what prophets do? You go to a prophet. Hashem sends to a prophet. The prophet does what God says. That's what a Navi does. I'm done. I'm not doing it. Why? So there are a number of different answers suggested by the Mefarshim. I'll just give you one, or one which is two, that he didn't want to go because he was afraid that if he went, Nineveh would do tshuva. And then, either he would look bad, because as a prophet he's supposed to tell Jews to do tshuva, and the Jews gave Faifim from Yam, the Jews aren't doing tshuva, but he goes to Nineveh and all of a sudden Nineveh does tshuva. What kind of a prophet is he? Or, B, the Jews are going to look bad. Nineveh does tshuva, and the Yidden Nebuch eingezunken, and they're not budging. It's going to look bad. The comparison will make the Jews suffer. All kinds of explanations of why Yonah didn't want to go. I want to suggest, along the lines of Reb Shaul, the Binyan Ariel, that maybe the reason why Yonah didn't want to go, because Yonah really didn't believe that tshuva can really make a difference. Yonah really didn't believe that tshuva could really make a difference. If you turn to the side, the top, the Yerushalmi, the side that has two texts on it, there's a Yerushalmi in Makos, very striking Yerushalmi in Maseches Makos. And it's underlined, a few lines are underlined. Shalu l'chachma, chote mahu oncho. You have to understand, and I'm sure you do understand, that tshuva, the concept of tshuva, defies any rational, logical conception. Because what happened to the sin that you committed? You ate, Zotmer Entschuldigung, the cheeseburger. You ate the cheeseburger. Schrei, chai, v'kayim, I'm upset that I ate the cheeseburger. Good. I'm happy you're upset that you ate the cheeseburger. Problem. You ate the cheeseburger. You hurt somebody, you asked mechila. What happened? What happens to the act itself? If you look on page 4 for a moment, Rav Soloveitchik in his Ala Tshuva, I gave you the English version on page 4, quotes from Nietzsche and Spinoza, who said that tshuva is ludicrous. Nietzsche and Spinoza deny the possibility of repentance because the question is an obvious one. Where did it go? It can't go away. It happened. There are consequences. How could tshuva possibly work? Back to the Yerushalmi and Makos. Shalu l'chachma chote mahu oncho. They went to chachma. Chachma is like a brain. It's like wisdom. It's logic. Makes sense. Chachma. Shalu l'chachma chote mahu oncho. Amr lohem chatoim teradei fra. Izol man shuldigen. You're a chote. So evil should pursue the sinner. You sinned, there are consequences. That's logical. That's what Chachma says. Shalu l'nevuah chote mahu oncho. So they go to prophecy. And Yonah is in this category. You go to prophecy, you go to Yonah, and say, what happens? Chote mahu oncho. So what does nevuah say? Hanefesh hachotas hitamus. Where did it go? Even prophecy has a problem, says the Yerushalmi, with the concept of tshuva. Yonah can't figure this out. He says, I can't be part of this. I don't understand this. You do something wrong, Nineveh sinned, tshuva hin, tshuva her. That's it. tell them to do tshuva, it's going to be okay. No. Look at the Mefarshim. Look at the Radak. Look at the Metzudas David on the other side where the long pages, Yonah Perek Gimel. The Navi here is telling us that he ran away and he's trying to figure this out and he doesn't want to go and then he's forced to go. Look at the Radak in Pasuk Daled. Vayachel Yonah ki ha'ir Haisa mahalech shlosha yamim and akotza al akotza. It takes a while to get from this side of the city to the other side of the city. And then he says to them, V'omer, the entire prophetic message in the book of Yonah is 5 words. It's the only prophecy in the whole book. There are 4 chapters. 5 words is the only nevuah in the whole book. And what's the nevuah? Od arba'im yom. V'nin v'nei poches. That's the only thing he says as a Navi. He says, you guys are doomed. Rotzalomar, says the Radak, V'nin v'nei poches. Oh, nehefaches. That's a word that I know from the Bible, from Genesis. It says, Kimahapechas Sedom v'Amora. Kima'aseho hoyu kima'asehem. What's supposed to happen to Nineveh? Mahapechas Sedom v'Amora. What happened to Sedom and Amora? Done. Fried. Finished. Punished. Destroyed. Out. In Yonah's mind, that's what's supposed to happen. Like Sodom and Amorah, nehepoches, mahapechas. Look at the Metzudas David, Pasuk Daled Vayachel, Kishehischel bottom left, Lovo Ba'ir, Mahalech Yom, he was a day travel already away from the city. You have 40 days, and what's going to happen at the end of the 40 days? V'acharze tihiyeh ninve nehepoches, Ratzalomar, end of the second line, left side, bottom of this page, Kimapechas Dom v'Amorah. Meyesh la'ayin, from existence to the negation of existence. It doesn't make any sense to him. He runs away because tshuva doesn't make any sense. And we understand this very well. About 2-3 years ago, there was a cover story in the New York Times Sunday magazine section about the internet. And it had to do with some lady who was going to graduate school, Tzigazint, who on her Facebook page, in full compliance with the law, had a tipsy hat on and was holding a drink in her hand. And she looked like she was drunk. And she was going to a graduate school of education. When it came time for her to graduate, they didn't let her graduate. Because what kind of a role model are you? So she sues because there's nothing illegal, and the court throws out her suit and supports the school because everything you put on your Facebook page or on hashtag Ahinaher or Twitter Ahinaher, I don't even know, I was born too late for this. My anicle, my aniklach, teach me. I'm embarrassed to say I used to have a BlackBerry. I know it's hurtful to admit that I once had a BlackBerry. So I had a BlackBerry, and my 4-year-old Anikel Shaya says, Zadie, I want to play with your phone because that's what we do. Takes my phone, goes like this, and gunished. He says, Zadie, it's broken because it's not an ayahin or ayaher, an I this and I that, an I this. You go like this, and magic. My Nebuch, 1426 phone. Anything I tell my students, don't send an email. Don't ever send an. You think it's deleted? It's flying around somewhere in the Olam Yisrael Yoinim. Anything you ever put doesn't go away. So we understand the question. You write something, you post something. Chatosi ovisi poshati al cheit oshamnu bogadnu gazalnu fenheim bis morgen. It's there. You're stuck. Question: what happened? Zukt Yonah. If you do something wrong, you're stuck. Look at the bottom of the the other side. What does Yonah say? What does Yonah say when he talks about Vayera El Yonah Ra Gedola, the bottom of the backside of the single double-sided page? Vayera El Yonah Ra Gedola Vayichala Vayispala Hashem Vayomer Ana Hashem. Halozeh Devara, you have the English translation on the left-hand side, Ad Ayosi Al Admasi Al Kain Kidamti Livroach Tarshisha. This is why I ran away. Ki Adati Ki Ata Kel Chanun Verachum Erech Apayim Verav Chesed. And he stops after the word Chesed. What's missing? What's the next word? We know it, Emes, because he says, God, it's not Emes. Tshuva's not Emes. He drops Emes. What was Yonah's name? Yonah ben Amittai. Jonah, the son of truth. Jonah, the son of truth, cannot conceive of the concept of tshuva. Shoalu lenavua chote mahu onsho. The answer is fry him. Kill him, rub him out. He's a chayte. Nevuah doesn't understand it. Yonah says, I'm out of here. It's not emes. Mamish to alle pitchifkis. Rachum, Chanun, Erechapayim, V'rav Chesed. For the last plus week, that's all we're saying. 90 times a day, and we say emes, and he leaves out emes. Because he doesn't believe it's emes. He doesn't understand it. And so, asks Reb Shaul Halevi Lowenstein, chief rabbi of Amsterdam, the author of the Binyan Ariel, second half of the 18th century. How does tshuva work? And he says, I'll tell you how tshuva works. Turn back to the left side of page 3. I'll tell you how tshuva works. And the way I'm going to explain it to you is going to explain Rabbi Yoshia Pinto. Do you know why everything hangs on your relationship with another human being? I'll tell you why. Why does tshuva work? Left side, left column. V'hinei masha kosafti lamayla b'shem horif be'en Yaakov. In the paragraph with the big letters, V'hinei. D'mi sheyesh biyodo averos sheben adam lachavero v'lo pies es chavero. If there's outstanding business between you and Chaim and you and Devorah and you didn't fix it, af shebeno leben hamakom ein mischapren lo, then the cheeseburger sticks in your craw and doesn't go anywhere. Ben adam lamakom is totally still outstanding. Yesh li ten tam al zeh. Ki mitzad hasvara lo yitzdak lefonav kol chai af al yedei tshuva. Never should a human being emerge righteous in the face of God, even after doing tshuva. Al asher lo asa es ma'amar malko shalolam. You didn't do what God told you to do. Sorry. You feel bad? Good. I'm happy you feel bad. Set the helfim via toiten bankis. You feel bad? Okay. You feel bad. What happened to the sin? Asks Reb Shaul. And I'm interpreting that's Yonah's issue. Because Yonah said it's like Sodom and Amorah. Sodom and Amorah is not there. They did tshuva and everything is fine. You do something wrong, that's it, it's over. Zogt Reb Shaul. Aval midas chasto yisbarach im ha'adam. Do you know why tshuva works? And you know why tshuva is different than Facebook or whatever else? It's very simple. And I actually don't have any other way of understanding this. Tshuva works because God is kind to us. Because God does a chesed. That's it. God says, you know what? You did it, but I'm a bal chesed, and I'm going to make believe it went away. I'm doing you a huge kindness. Turn to the Yerushalmi. Chachma says it's incomprehensible. Nevuah says It's ludicrous. Who's the last one? The third underline at the top of that page. Sha'alu lekudsha berichu chotema onsho. Amar lehen yasa tshuva v'yischaper lo. God comes along and overrides Chachma. You're right. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's anti-Chachma. It's anti-Nevuah. You're right. But I am God, and I am saying a Maisa Chesed. It's a Chesed. God is doing a Chesed. And it goes away. How can it go away? I don't know. God says it goes away. It goes away. When we stand before God on Yom Kippur, and we're banging away, and we're thanking God and praying for God, like the number one expression is, oh my God, God, thank you for giving me an opportunity to do this. There's no reason why I should be able to do this. It's on my Facebook page. It's it. It's in the Olam, it's forever. You did a Maisa Chesed. Thank you. The whole enterprise of tshuva is only comprehensible when we understand that it's incomprehensible logically. It's only a chesed. Says Reb Sholov answered to them, when is God doing us a chesed? When is God going to do us a chesed? Midas chazdo im ha'adam limdod lo kemidaso ukefi ma'asav im basar v'adam kamoso kach HaKadosh Baruch Hu oseimo. When I go to my friend and I say, darf sich intergartelen, you got to really prepare yourself, and you go and you ask for mechila, and then what happens? Then the other person faced a challenge, because he's still licking, so licked him, still teeth tire, he's still upset. This guy comes and says, I'm sorry, but he's still upset. So if he's honest, he'll say, get out of my face, leave me alone, you hurt me too much, I don't want to talk to you. So the halacha says that the agriever has to go again. Has to ask mechila a second time. The guy says, get out of my face, leave me alone. Go, you should have thought about this before you did it. He has to go a third time. The halacha says that the third time, he should be meichelim. It's a gezin, God bless you. He should be meichelim. The third time, he should be meichelim. When God sees that Shmerel goes to Beryl and asks mechila, and at some point Beryl gives mechila to Shmerel, what happened to the hurt? Beryl hurt Shmerel. How could Shmerel be meichel Beryl? The answer is, it's a chesed. You hurt me. I see that you're upset about it. We're going to work it out. Doesn't that happen all the time in families? The closer we are, the greater the capacity to hurt one another. And we want to make good. So a husband and a wife and a husband and a child and a parent, we hurt one another. Where did it go? I want this to work. I want this relationship. It's more important than the hurt. We're going to figure it out. We'll get past it. Oh, says the Rabbi. One could be meichel the other. I can ask mechil and that person could be meichel me. Oh, so then I will adopt that behavior and I will be meichel for my aspects. For ben adam lachavero. When is God meichel ben adam lamakom? God will be meichel ben adam lamakom. When is God meichel ben adam lamakom? God is only meichel ben adam lamakom if we're meichel one another. Because God patterns his chesed after our chesed. If we don't do chesed to one another, God said, why should I do chesed to you? The whole thing is a chesed. Again, midas chazdo yisbarachim ha'adam, limdod lo, God relates to the human being, kemidaso, like this human being relates to another human being. Ukefi maisav and basav adam, kamoso, just like one person, a basav adam, a human being, relates to another, asks for forgiveness and gets forgiveness granted, kacha kadosh baruch hu oseimo. Umikol makam hu chesed godol mimenu yisborach. It's a chesed midas chasto. That's it. It's a chesed. Shemashve es midosav in midos basav adam afapi, even though obviously she'elohem erech zem zeh. I mean, so, God's behavior is just incomparable to human beings' behavior, but metaphorically and conceptually, God is patterning his own behavior to us on the way we behave to one another. And therefore, Zok the Heilige Rab Shaul av Bezen of Amsterdam, that the reason why the Rif says that if I don't do Ben Adam Lachavero, my Ben Adam Lamakom is nowhere, is because why should God do a chesed to me if I'm not doing a chesed to somebody else, if I'm not asking them? That's also, you do a chesed by asking for forgiveness. You do a chesed by granting forgiveness. We need to live in a world of chesed. We live in a world of chesed, then the Rabbi Shalom will live in a world of chesed. We don't live in a world of chesed, then the Rabbi Shalom is not going to forgive us. It's not going to happen, because the whole thing is only a chesed. Because Chachma says it's nuts, and Nevuah says it's crazy. Rub him out! Rub him out! Nefesh achautas hitamus! Kill him! Kill him! Nevuah says. Chatoim teradef ra. Kill him! Evil should pursue him. Says Chachma Shalu Lakudsha beriachu. Chotei Ma'u Ansho, says the Yerushalmi. Yasa tshuva v'yischaper. What a gift. God gives us an incomprehensible gift. The whole thing, the whole Aseres Yemei, next word is tshuva, is a gift. It's just a gift. We need to deserve the gift. How do we deserve the gift? We give a gift. We're nice. 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 We're nice. God is nice to us. We're not nice. God says, I'm not going there. What am I doing in this house? What am I doing with that person? And so that brings us to page 5. Sagt der Heilige Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai, a beautiful Ben Ish Chai. Who's the Ben Ish Chai? Ben Ish Chai is a go-to Sephardi rabbinic scholar. He's a big Baal Halach. He was a Makubal. If Reb Chaim Falaji lived in Izmir, the Ben Ish Chai, whose name was Rabbi Yosef Chaim, lived in Baghdad. He lived in Iraq. Leading rabbinic authority, dies in 1909. So we're now pushing into our days, like he's into the beginning of the 20th century. So the Ben Ish Chai is a parish on the Torah called the Ben Ish Chai. But it's not a parish on the Torah the way we're accustomed to a parish on the Torah like Rashi, the Ramban, Ibn Ezra. He comments on the biblical verses. He pours his whole Hashkafas Olam into his parish on the Torah. So the parish on al-HaTorah is like a vehicle to present his worldview. So now we come to Parshas Vayelach. The Kovid, this Shabbos is Parshas Vayelach. I think I better hold on to it. I love you with a passion. You're a wonderful man. I'm still not getting to you. Sorry. No problem. I'm going to put it over here to be safe. Okay. You're doing great. It's a pleasure. Zok the Heilige Ben Ish Chai, this week's Parsha, Parshas Vayelach. It's a fascinating Ben Ish Chai. This is about as Sephardi as it gets. And the Sephardim among you will appreciate this. Hopefully the Ashkenazim among you, which I assume is the majority, will also appreciate this. Right away, he starts off. This week's Parsha. Kol Adam Yenashek Yedei Aviv V'imo Be'erev Yom Kippurim Le'eis Erev. Kodem She'elech Le'beis HaKnesses. Before you go to shul, you stop off at Mami, Tati, Abba, Ima, Dad, Mom. Excuse me, I'm on my way to shul. Can I borrow your hand for a moment? And the parent gives the hand. It's like such a Sephardi thing. You kiss. Doesn't say hug. Right? Where I come from, like the hug. So it's not a hug. Kiss the hand. Before you go on the way to shul, you stop off at your parents. You should be zeicher to have parents. You should be zeicher to have parents within distance where you can do this. Before you go to shul, v'yavakish mehem mechila. V'davar zehu chiyav gadol al kol adam. It's a big deal. Parents, you have to ask mechila from your parents. That's the first stop. Umisheino osakein. If you don't ask mechila from your parents, he doesn't say, Mi shenebuch did something bad to their parents, should go on Erev Yom Kippur and kiss their hand. He doesn't say that. What does he say? Go kiss their hand and ask mechila. Why? Because there's no doubt that somewhere, willy-nilly, you did something in the course of the last year. You better go kiss their hand. I mean, it's not even a question. And if you don't do that, umisheino osakain, nikra chote is a sinner, umezalzel b'chvod ave v'imo, and cheapens and makes light of, is disrespectful of the honor due one's parents. Te'im ben adam lachaveiro chivu chachamenu zichronom levracha levakesh mechila kodem Yom Kippurim, if we have to do so interpersonal relationships one to the other. So kal v'chaymer, a fortiori, for sure, kol shkei me'ave v'imo, she'ein adam nitzol mechet zeh b'chol yom. I don't know if b'chol yom means every day or days. There are days. There's no question it's going to happen. V'im haben shoteh v'lo bikesh. How would you translate shoteh? How would you translate the word shoteh? What did you say? What? Foolish. I would even be stronger, and it's not a nice term. If the kid is an idiot, if the kid's mamish an idiot, so that's stronger than foolish. And I think that's what it means, because it's not just you're foolish if you don't do it, but you're a shaita. V'ima ben shota v'lo bikesh, heim yitnu lo mechila. So the parents should be mechil anyway. Sheyomru b'fiyem, they should say explicitly, the kid didn't show up. Their hand is hanging out by the door for an hour, and the kid didn't show up. At some point, Mahalchen bet tefillah zaka. I don't know if the Sfardim say tefillah zaka, but Mahalchen already, medav gain and shiel, right? The kittel is on, right? We're ready to go. We're out the door, and there's no kid. So the parents say, Anochi mochel lebini ploni al kol ma shechotoli mechila gemura. It's not easy. The parents have been waiting for the kid to show up. The parents have unfinished business. It's the kid's responsibility to ask mechila. The kid didn't show up. The kid was a shaita. The parents should be mechil anyway. Now comes a very not PC statement. V'chein haba'al yitein mechila leishto al asher bizbiza min habayis shelo kirtzono. The husband should grant mechila, should grant forgiveness to his wife. What does she do wrong? What is bizbiza min habayis shelo kirtzono? Means that she spent a lot of money not in accordance with his will. So he doesn't say, in case an isha spent money against the will of the husband should be mechila. Slam dunk, it's going to happen. So habal yitei mechila lishto. And then he concludes, v'chein kol talmud sheyesh lo rav be'ir. If you have a Rebbe in town, you should go ask a mechila from your Rebbe. Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, on the left-hand side of the page, is one of the greatest of the great, also Sephardi. I don't know, tonight we ended up with Rabbi Pinto and Rabbi Falaji and the Ben Ish Chai and Rabbi Ovadia. We have the Reb Shoel Amsterdam is the sole Ashkenazi representative tonight. Rabbi Ovadia in Yechavedas quotes the Ben Ish Chai, but he does something that to me is unbelievably extraordinary. Quotes the Ben Ish Chai, 6-7 lines from the top of the paragraph, Bisi Kum. The top of the paragraph, Mishachota klape chavero. If you sinned with your friend, you have to go, and you have to go yourself. And you shouldn't write a letter, and you shouldn't send somebody. You should do it yourself. 6 lines down, 7 lines down. Unesayim b'divrei hagon Rabbi Yosef Chaim b'sefer Ben Ish Chai Parshas V'elach Ozvav. Shechiyav gadol mutal al kol adam levakesh mechila be'erev Yom Kippur me'ave v'imo. You should go to your parents And if you have an obligation to go to anybody else, so for sure you should go to your parents. Kol shkei aviv v'imo. And if the kid is a shoter and doesn't ask mechila, the parents should give him mechila anyway. Hareanu, quote, Hareanu mochlin lebonenu ploni, al kol ma shachata lanu b'meshach kol yemos hashana. We forgive him and we shouldn't get any punishment. And then he says something that's utterly jaw-dropping. V'chein haba'al v'ha'isha yimchalu zeh lo zeh al kol asher chotu echad klape hasheni b'meshach kol hashana v'dibru b'kasam dvarim asher lo kain. Where the Ben Ish Chai, and he's quoting from the Ben Ish Chai, where the Ben Ish Chai says he should be Michael her, not Chas v'Shalom, there'd be any reason, wouldn't occur to him that she should be Michael him. I mean, he's an angel. He never did anything wrong. He should be Michael her because for sure she spent extra money, and he's a big tzaddik. He doesn't need mechila. Rabbi Ovadia quotes the Ben Ish Chai and puts into the Ben Ish Chai. He can't say this in the Ben Ish Chai. So into the Ben Ish Chai he puts, it's a very egalitarian kind of a perspective. You know what? Both of them messed up. They should ask each other mechila. And then he continues. V'chein kol talmud sheyesh lo rav be'iro, yivakish mimenu mechila kodem Yom Kippur. Ad kan the Ben Ish Chai. It's shocking to me. I would have expected he'd quote the Ben Ish Chai, and then he'd say, Bizmanenu, and in our day, they should be mechil each other. Or he would have skipped that. He puts it into the words of the Ben Ish Chai. Because in fact, it has to do, it's a two-way street. It has to do one with the other. Because inevitably, al kol asher chotu echad klape hasheni b'meshach kol hashana. Something went awry somewhere during the year. V'dibru b'ka'asam. And they maybe raised their voice, maybe he to her, maybe her to him. Dvarim asher lo kain, things that shouldn't have been said. And now we're 4 days before Yom Kippur, and we got to make good, because now we know that if we don't make good, our goose is cooked. It's all over. Go to the beach, Yom Kippur. It's not happening. It's just not happening. If we don't fix, says Rabbi Yoshia Pinto, Ben Adam Lachavero, we're nowhere. Why? Chazara. The Mishnah says at the end of Maseches Yuma. Maseches Yuma is the Masechta that deals with Yom Kippur. Yuma, the day. The day. T-D. The day is Yom Kippur. So the first 7 prakim in Maseches Yuma deal with the avoda of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, the avoda in the Beis HaMikdash. The last parak of Maseches Yuma deals with things that are relevant for us today, the Chamisha Inuyim, the things that we're not allowed to do on Yom Kippur, and with a great elaboration. The Mishnah concludes, Avera sheben Adam lamakom Yom Kippur mechaper, Avera sheben Adam lachavero, en Yom Kippur mechaper ad sheyiratzas chavero. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Mai dechsiv, ki bayom hazeh yechaper aleichem l'tayar eschem, lifnei Hashem titaru. Averos sheben Adam lamakom Yom Kippur mechaper, Avera sheben Adam lachavero, en Yom Kippur mechaper ad sheyiratzas chavero. Frek the Heilige riff, the new riff, the 17th century riff. Why does it have to repeat? What's he coming to do? What's he adding? And if he only wanted to add the pasuk, he should have said, how do you know, minayin? Because it's a pasuk. Why does he repeat? The reason why he repeats is because he's taking an entirely different position than the Tanna Kama. The first opinion is, take care of this. Beautiful, perfect, good job, thank you, check in the big book, done. Now take care of this. Oh my God, I'm not going to take care of this, it's too hard. Okay, the check is there. For this, I don't have a check. Kum tzegei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. He says, if this doesn't work, then that doesn't work. Everything depends on Ben Adam Lachavera. Why? Zok Reb Chaim Falaji, because every Ben Adam Lachavera is a Ben Adam Lamakom. The same Torah that says you can't eat chazer and you have to keep Shabbos, and you have to shake a lulav, says that you have to be nice to somebody. So if you're not nice, what are you doing? Second answer, Rabbi Shaul Levi of Lowenstein of Amsterdam asks, why does tshuva work? Answer, the same problem he asks that Yonah had. Why does Yonah run away? Because Yonah's a Navi. Shalu l'nevuah, chote ma'oncho, we're done. Shalu l'chachma, chote ma'oncho, we're done. Doesn't make any sense. It's on your Facebook page. It's never, ever going to go away. It will haunt you if you look for a job. Ever. I think the statistics now, this article said, and this is 3-4 years ago, 78% of prospective employers look at your Facebook presence. They look at your online presence before they hire you. So Goto Peten, Nebuch, what some people put on their Facebook, and they mean it sincerely. You know, they went on a vacation somewhere, Halb Nakit and Spreizachos, and there it is, and you want to get a job in a responsible position, it's not going to happen. So Yonah runs away, he doesn't understand it. Why should it work? Zokt Rab Shaul HaLevi of Amsterdam. It's a chesed. It's a chesed. If you came tonight only for this, I would hope it was worth it just for this. It's just a chesed. It's just a chesed. God is kind. God is kind. That's all. When is God kind? When we're kind. We're not kind, then there's no reason for God to be kind. And how does it express itself? Very practically. Ben Ish Chai, Rabbi Ovadia, parents and children, husbands and wives, by extension, friends, neighbors. You live in a beautiful community. This shul community is extraordinary. The Toronto community is extraordinary. You're here tonight from a number of different shuls. And we thank Shari Shamayim, and we thank Rabbi Schachter for hosting us, the Mara Asra. It's an incredible community, and it's thriving, and it's vibrant, and it's growing, and it's wonderful. And the whole community, Toronto is amazing. How could that happen? If we care about one another, if we're kind to one another, if we're sensitive to one another, if we ask for mechila, if we give mechila, and it applies to community and it applies to family. We should keep this in mind as we wind down towards Yom Kippur. We should have a meaningful Yom Kippur, focusing on both Ben Adam Lamakom and Ben Adam Lachavero, and Yom Kippur should be a source of kapara and mechila and slicha for us, and we should be blessed with a wonderful new year. Good night.
I'm sure you all join me in thanking Rabbi Schachter for those profoundly inspiring words. We also should have a karas hatov to the Astro families for sponsoring this evening. Gamar Chatima Tova. Have a meaningful Yom Kippur.